welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about where I've been. So recently I have been going through a madness, and I don't think I've actually fully understood why it says in the word to be joyful when we have trials, because as soon as you become a Christian, you think, oh yeah, all my struggles are going to go away, all these problems. That's not the case. That is not the case. It's about Jesus revealing himself within those trials and seeing God's hand, even when it's hard to, during tough situations. It doesn't mean that he's going to abolish every single situation. It just means that he will show himself strong. I really saw God's hand throughout all of this, and I'm going to give you guys a testimony. I was actually on Google searching on ways to kind of kill yourself. I couldn't do it. God kept me. God honestly kept me. It doesn't look like I went through that. It's honestly such a blessing to have like a father figure in your life, not just physically, but spiritually. A father who actually understands you, a father who knows what you're going through. It's very clear that he did hear my prayers. It's difficult to know that, especially when your emotions are so high and you have the storm around you, and you have people telling you what to do. You have so many voices telling you, do this, do that, and it never satisfies, because I know what God is saying in my heart. I've genuinely been having struggles in my personal life with family. Now, I'm not going to name anybody. I'm not going to name and shame. I'm not going to say exactly what's happened, but it says in Romans 12:18, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So in this situation, in other words, it literally means as much as possible. What is possible on your part, how far it goes on your part. And as much as everybody has their kind of advice on what to do in terms of like, especially family situations which are very sensitive, and it involves a lot of culture, a lot of traditions, a lot of, upbringing on their part. We live in two different generations. So it's like you'll have people from the older generation just telling you, just say sorry. They won't even regard how you're feeling. They won't regard, your perspective and your side of the story. They just want you to say sorry, because that is the younger person's job. Say sorry, even if you're hurt, even if you've had trauma, just say sorry. I've had some people come to me, like, you're a Christian, you need to just apologize, even if it hurts you. And as much as that is true to some extent, I believe that we need to do better as Christians in terms of being insensitive at times like this, and knowing when to speak and knowing when to listen. So there's certain advice which is not necessarily bad advice, but it's not godly advice in a sense where it's not exactly what God has for me in that time. Now, it comes to a point where you really need to think about, okay, cool, I'm too busy trying to take responsibility for so many people's wrongs, for so many people's upbringings and this and that, and I am not responsible. I am not the one to blame for how people are raised. I'm not the one to blame for the way they think. I'm only responsible for my own actions. So I genuinely had to kind of hear from somebody, listen, it's not your fault the way that certain people think like this. It's not your fault that that's what they've done. There are certain extreme measures that I've had to take, boundaries that I've had to place, because I genuinely couldn't take it anymore. And that's part of the reason why I have my own place now. Yeah, it is very difficult to forgive and to heal and to process a lot of things that have been happening for months, for years. The one thing that I've realized that I've had to do was just genuinely take a break. I had to get out of my house. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, but I genuinely couldn't heal in that place. I couldn't process things in that place. Having to process and then having to deal, having to process and having to deal, having to see certain faces, having to hear certain things, that I just couldn't do it. I have wedding planning, I've got work, I've got so many other things going on. So I genuinely just kept praying, and I was like, God, help me. Do you know what I mean? And it got to a point where for me to heal, I also needed to pray for them. Because in my head, I was thinking, listen, it's not worth it. I genuinely don't like them. I don't like these people. I just want to go away. I want them to leave me alone. I want to cut them off and this and that. But it got to a point where I had to realize it was spiritual matters, and I knew the enemy was targeting me through my family. So I was just praying for, their hearts. I was praying for their minds. I was praying for like the uprooting of so many traditions and cultures and cultural differences and and for God to bring about understanding from both sides. Do you know what I mean? Even from my side, it's not just about me being, headstrong and me saying, oh, listen, I am right. No, it's not about that. It's also empathizing with how they've been brought up, and also understanding that they may have gone through the same cycle with their own parents. So maybe they don't know how to break the cycle themselves. So yeah, it was very important for me to see both sides, and it was important for me to also kind of get away from all of that and have some time to think, have some time to speak to God and block out a lot of people's voices. Because the one thing that I also did wrong was just kind of run to different people, and just like, air out my business. And then they end up telling me a lot of different things. Someone's telling me, go say sorry. Someone's telling me, forget them. They don't care about you. And it's very confusing. And that we need to learn how to filter through those voices. We need to learn, okay, what is wise, what is godly, what is biblical. A lot of that is the reason why I was oppressed. I genuinely felt like I was holding or bearing a lot of things. God really sent people to come to me and to ask me if I'm okay. He poured dreams and visions into people's minds, and they've come to me. Like, people I don't even know came to me and was just like, listen, I've had a dream about you, and in my dream you said you was depressed, or I was, you was in my heart the other day. Like, I went to church the other week, and one woman who doesn't even know me, she called someone from my church and said, listen, Alex's fiance, we need to pray for her. And they didn't know why, but when I came to church with that testimony of being suicidal and God helping me, they understood why. Like, a lot of people at church as well, that community really did help me, because they were praying without knowing what was happening. And I'm just so thankful, because I don't know where I'd be right now if I didn't have that community, if I didn't have God. All I can say is God kept me. And while I'm in this new place, while I'm by myself, I really do see myself just coming out of this situation, and I see God just delivering me, my family, and I just see, chains being broken and restoration. Honestly, if you're having family issues, you are not alone. There are times where, yes, you might feel like they don't appreciate you, they might not understand you, they might, abuse their power. This is definitely a cultural thing, it's definitely a tradition thing. And it's honestly our job to kind of teach them boundaries, teach them, what the word says. Because at the end of the day, you can't take away and strip away their cultural mindset in just one day. It's going to be a lot of patience, it's going to be a lot of grace. So I honestly just pray for everybody out there who are going through the same thing that I'm going through, or maybe even worse. I don't know. Listen, God does see your situation, and as long as you remain integral, as long as you remain humble, and that you're not, sinning in your anger, listen, God will bless you.